All right,
All
so
right.
I'm joined with Tyler Pike. You mind go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, man. My name's Tyler Pike. I'm 27-year-old, and I this will be coming up this year. Will be my 10th year playing professional baseball. I was drafted by the Mariners in 2012 in the third round out of Winter Haven High School. I spent 5 years with them, getting up to as high as Double A, and in 2016 I was traded to the Braves for a player to be named later trade, and then I spent 2 years with them in their minor league system as well. And then after the 18 season, my minor league contract expired. Didn't get any looks by any other teams, and so I ended up playing indie ball in 1920, and this season will be and 2021 will be my third season playing. But still trying to grind it out, get back into affiliated ball, but enjoying playing, figured some stuff out.
All right, so you said drafted in high school.
Yep.
Before that, you were committed to Florida State. Tell us a little bit about like when, I guess, first when college, when Florida came into the picture, that you're recruiting for college, and then after that, kind of when the draft became a picture.
Yeah, so I played football my freshman year of high school and put on some weight and stuff. So I went from throwing about 82 or so my freshman year to jumping up to my sophomore year throwing about 87, 88.
Dang.
And we had some former players that were seniors my freshman year that went to UCF. And they were looking at a couple other guys on our team that were seniors that year. And I just happened to throw in that game for an inning. And I see a gun behind the plate as a 15-year-old. I'm just like, let's see how hard I can throw. So I think I got it up to 90 on just like one pitch that probably hit the backstop or something. But the UCF coach got interested just from that being a sophomore and stuff. So that was the first taste of what happened with my recruiting process stuff through colleges. And then after that, it was kind of slow. Once I got into my junior year, I had a really good year, and then it started to pick back up. And then I think going into my senior season, I was like, I kind of got to make a decision, and I had narrowed it down to like Florida State, UNC, and like USF, and I just fell in love with Florida State's campus and everything. The coaching staff with Mike Martin, his son, and then the pitching coach at that time was Mike Bell. And I liked his mindset a lot. I liked what he had to say. They're going to give me an opportunity to play two-way there. I just had to earn a spot and stuff. I was like, I'm in, man. Let's do this. So ended up committing over the summer, I think in July. And then had a pretty good senior season. It wasn't as good as my junior year, but still held my own. We had some, I'd say the kind of the turning point with the draft there was the first game of the season. We would go over and play Tampa Jesuit, and that's where Lance McCullers was
Okay.
at. So we got drafted the same year, and we matched up with each other. So a lot of these dudes came to see him, and I just happened to throw like really well that day. I was like 90, 92. We matched up. We both threw 4 innings, both gave up one hit. I got the hit off of him. He got the hit off of me.
Dang.
So just kind of like tit for tat and stuff. And then after that, like there was some cross checkers there. That's where I met my agent and everything. He told me about it and stuff. I think it's kind of where it took off from that point. And then going into June, I wasn't sure what was going to happen with the draft, man. Like first day, I mean, I wasn't expecting first day or anything like that. I just honestly, I just didn't think I was tall enough. Like I had the stuff, but like I know how projectable they'd like those high school picks to be. And
Mm-hmm.
I was at this point, I was like 5'11", like pushing maybe 6 foot. So second day rolls around and getting a little bit of interest, the Padres, the Braves, and talking to my dad and talking to my agent and stuff. We had a number in our heads. Like, I think this is what you're worth out of high school at this draft. If you don't get it, you know what you're going to get out of Florida State. You know you're going to get better and everything. I was like, deal, let's do it. Fine. And offers are coming in a little bit here and there, and then it just wasn't really happening. I was like, man, I'm just going to go to Florida State. It's not a big deal, whatever. So my dad ended up leaving. My mom left, and so I'm at the house with 2 of my friends, and my agent calls me. He's like, hey, you got to tell me in like the next 30 seconds. Said they're going to give you a little bit over what you want. Are you good with that? I was like, yeah, for sure. Let's do it. So it ended up being the Mariners. And I called my dad back to the house. Like, hey, this is happening right here. And I end up, the GM for the Mariners calls me and says, all right, we're going to do probably if anybody calls, tell them you're going to college. Like, we don't want anybody like trying anything different and stuff, because with the new draft rules and stuff, like you could lose that money and everything.
Yeah.
So just tell everybody you're going to college. We'll get you in the 6th round. I said, deal, no problem. I think one team called and I said, I think I'm just going to go to Florida State. And then my dad ended up leaving again, because at this point we're like in like the 2nd round and stuff. It's going pretty slow. So I'm sitting on the couch just like watching to see who the Mariners are going to pick. And at this compensation round, which is in between the 3rd and the 4th round, there's 3 picks. And the Mariners had the 2nd pick. And I'm sitting there like, all right, who am I going to play with? And then my name pops up on the board. I'm like, 6th round? Like, no, it was super cool, man. It was a super, super interesting experience overall. And like that night, I ended up graduating and stuff too.
Dang.
So it was just like a packed day full of stuff. And it was cool, man. I really enjoyed the whole experience.
Was that a tough decision, deciding, actually college versus, pro ball, besides just the money, like saying, hey, this is my price, but like actually saying like, yes, I'm going pro?
Yeah, I think it was, because like I honestly, like, I did care a lot about Florida State. I really, really cared about the coaches and stuff. And, I talked to Mike Bell on the phone like before I even did anything. And he's like, man, I know what you're at. He said, I've been coaching at this level for a long time. There's been a lot of guys in your shoes. I said, you do what's right for you, man, no matter what. He said, but you got to promise me one thing, that you go back and get your degree. I said, that's the one thing I promise, that make everybody that I've coached that ends up going back or going to pro ball, go back and get your degree. I said, promise, I'll do it for sure. And actually just started this past fall going to my college classes. So I'm going to keep that promise.
Do you, I mean, I guess overall, no, it's not a regret, but do you regret taking like, what was it, 8 years between classes?
Yeah, a little bit. It's just, I mean, once you're in school for like 13 years, man, it's just like you get to experience like no schooling. It's like it's pretty cool. Like I definitely enjoy not doing it, but also I think doing it at this age where I'm at now has benefited me a lot, because back then, like, I'd have probably slacked off so much. I'd have probably missed a bunch of assignments and stuff. Like now, like, I'm on top of everything. I'm a little bit smarter and a little bit more wiser and stuff, even though not being in school for so long. So I don't regret it at all. I think right here where I'm at, just taking a couple classes here and there is perfect for me.
How many credits are you taking?
Right now, I don't know I couldn't tell you credits and stuff. I just know I'm taking 5 online classes just this semester. I couldn't tell you credit hours or nothing. I got them all listed on my board up here. I got my syllabuses ready to go, just crossing stuff out as it goes.
So you mentioned, Lance McCullers in your high school class. You had a crazy high school class out in Florida. I mean, So I just noted McCullers, Albert Amora, Lewis Brinson, Carson Fulmer, Nick Travieso, all of these guys. Did you get to play? I mean, I know you played against McCullers, but did you get to play like on summer ball with any of those guys?
Yeah, most of the guys you mentioned, I did play with.
Wow.
It was so long ago, man. Like for me, like I would just go to a couple of tournaments and like pitch and then leave. So I was never really a part of that team.
Yeah.
Like I met all these dudes, like hung out with McCullers a few times on some travel ball stuff. Met Travieso at a couple tournaments, played with Almora, played with Brinson, played with Jesse Winker, played with David Dahl, all these dudes, like, which is a really, really cool experience in itself. Because I think where I met most of those guys was either at like this big showcase called East Coast Pro.
Okay.
I met a bunch of those dudes at, and then also doing some tournaments with FTB Mizuno, which is like the big WWBA tournament that usually held like towards November and stuff. And that team, my senior year, was like just straight up stacked. I mean, our outfield, I went to 2 games that tournament. Our outfield was, I think Winker was in left, Dahl was in right, and then Almora was in center.
That's crazy.
It was something crazy like that. It was crazy. And then like Eflin was there, Travieso was there, Rob Whalen was there, like all these dudes. And there's probably some more I couldn't remember, but I mean, just playing around those dudes and then seeing them playing now and stuff on TV and stuff was just like really cool. Because like I said, man, I get to hang out with him in the clubhouse for a little bit or play catch in the outfield and stuff. It's pretty cool. And then some of those dudes I still chat with a little bit, but I mean, it was so long ago, dude. I bet some of them don't even know my name. So it's whatever.
So, you mentioned how, I guess you said you met your agent at the game against Jesuit.
Yep.
Was that like the first kind of guy that approached you, or what was it like, trying to find out or find your agent?
So this guy he's still my agent to this day. He was actually a family friend. One of my cousins, he coached him in high school a little bit. He did some scouting and stuff, did a little bit of coaching, then he got into the agency business. And I think my cousin called him and said, "Hey, my my cousin's stolen in Tampa against McCullers." He said, "I think you should go check him out." So he rode over, saw me, and then like just talked to him at the game and stuff. And like nothing was set in stone. We chatted a lot and stuff, and I didn't even sign with his agency or anything until after the draft. He was kind of like, "Hey, I know your family really well. Like, I'll help you out as much as I can. If you don't end up signing, we can still chat. Maybe down the road, if you get drafted out of college, we can talk then. But I'll just help you out. And if you do end up signing, just sign with me." I said, "Deal, let's do it." So, really good guy, really intelligent, has a bunch of really big clients like Chipper Jones, some other dudes like that. It's a big agency that's growing. So it was a really good experience with that.
That's awesome. So what was it like, kind of transitioning, you're a high school player, and all of a sudden, boom, you're drafted, thrown into, I guess, what was it, rookie league?
Yeah, rookie ball.
Okay. What was it
So
like,
there was
just transitioning?
it was a little difficult because just not even on the baseball side of things, just on like the mental side of things for me, because I never went and did these travel ball tournaments, always played in my high school and stuff. So I mean, before that, the longest time I had been away from home or like family and stuff was like 3 days at the max. So now I get thrown into, I'm going out to Arizona. I'm like 2,200 miles away from home and I'm going to be gone for like 60 days. I'm like, geez, I'm not used to this, man. I'm like living in a hotel room and stuff. It took about a week, I'd say, for me to get really comfortable with it. But I had a really good roommate in Tim Lopes, he's up with the Brewers now, made his debut a couple years ago with the Mariners. He helped me out a lot with the aspects of things. And once I got comfortable, I feel like I kind of hit a stride. I ended up having a really good rookie ball season overall. And I think that was just like a big stepping stone moving forward, just kind of getting that kind of atmosphere under my belt. Competition was way better and stuff. Obviously, you're facing the best of the best. But overall, I mean, I think just the experience of rookie ball, you play like in that league, you played 4 days, then you had a day off, 4 days, day off. So it kind of gave us some time to relax and to kind of do whatever we wanted for the most part. And it's like, wow, I don't have to like listen to anybody. I'm kind of a grown man now. I can kind of do what I want. So it was cool, man. I enjoyed it.
So tell us a little bit about what went through the next, what was it, 3-4 years, with Arizona League, Clinton, High Desert,
Yep.
and all those teams.
Yeah. So next season was my first full season. I went to Low A, and it was in Clinton, Iowa, which was kind of an experience in itself, the city and everything. It's kind of like right on the Mississippi River, not much to do there. But like I said, it's another huge growing season for me. Not just off the baseball field too. I had to figure out apartment stuff, like doing my own laundry and everything like that. And still 19 years old at the time. But Clinton was fun, man. I had another good year on the field and stuff. Got hurt towards the end of the season, so I didn't get as many innings as I hoped I should have and stuff, but it's all part of it. Jumping into next year, I got sent to High A, which was High Desert, California, or home run capital of the world, if you want to say that, basically. Which is where I think where things kind of started to get a little on the downhill for me. I was never really used to failure growing up. Not like bragging or anything. I just never really got hit in high school and stuff. And then like the first 2 seasons, like I got hit a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm doing on the mound. But then like I get in High Desert and I mean, I'm throwing like broken bats that feel like they should be pop outs or going out of the park. I mean, I start walking guys. I start shying away from contact. And I think I just got into a spot where like mentally, I just wasn't really trusting my stuff. And I figured it out for a little bit. And then halfway through the season at the All-Star break, I think I'm sporting like a 6 ERA at this point.
Dang.
And they call me into the office. They're like, hey, I'm like, shoot, I'm definitely going back to Clinton. I don't know what's going on. They're like, well, the organization made a decision that they're going to send you to Jackson, which is AA. I'm like,
dang.
You sure? And stuff like that. But I end up going there, and like, it's kind of the same stuff, man. I get up there, and AA is a whole different ball game. And it's 100% true when they say if you can pitch in AA, you can pitch in the big leagues. Because it's like high, and then you're just taking a massive leap up to AA. The hitters have approaches. They're not swinging at crap. I mean, the strike zone gets smaller, and you actually have to work and learn how to pitch and stuff. And I just struggled bad. I mean, I was walking guys, not necessarily from just like not wanting them to hit it, like pretty good pitches. Guys are just like laying off, like changeups down and stuff, or fastballs on the corner that I'm not getting the call. I'm like, and if I do throw it over the plate, it's just getting tallywhacked. And I'm like, oof, and that the 14 season was kind of like a blur. I mean, it went by quick, but it was tough to say the least. So next season, 15, I jump back in. They send me back to Jackson. I have a pretty good first start of the season, and I kind of get back into my old habits of walking some guys, shying away from contact. And about 3 or 4 starts in the season, I got like a 6 ERA again, and get called in the office again. I'm like, definitely going back to Baker or to High Desert. And they're like, yeah, we want you to figure some stuff out. We're going to send you back down to High A, which is now Bakersfield. So we swapped with another team. So, it was like, you never want to get demoted, but like, it's something I needed for sure. So get sent back there. And I spend the rest of the season in Bakersfield kind of figuring some stuff out, learning to be more aggressive in the strike zone and stuff like that. I ended up going pretty well. I think I had like right at a 4, which is pretty good for the Cal League, I guess. So definitely figured a lot of stuff out mentally too. So jumped back in to 16, had a really good spring training and stuff. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get my next shot at AA. Let's make it happen. And rosters come out, I get sent back to High A again. So I go back to Bakersfield. But this time, like, of course, I was wanting to go up and stuff, but like I was very comfortable where I was at because, one, we had a super, super tight group of guys that played really well together. We all hung out together. It was a fun atmosphere, fun clubhouse, fun dugout. And then the next reason was my pitching coach was a guy we hired named Ethan Katz, who is now the big league pitching coach for the White Sox. And I mean, by far the best pitching coach I've ever had. And it was just different because like he truly cared about what was going on with each individual. You could find him just about every day having a different guy out there working on certain things. And for me, it was like, hey, you know what you got to do. You got to throw your fastball for strikes more often. But I want you to be able to throw your curveball, which was at my time, that's my pitch. I said, you got to be able to throw this for a strike. Because before that, it was kind of like, here it is. It's probably going to be down the zone. Let's see if you swing at it. He said, if you can get it to where you can land it for a strike whenever you want, then be able to bounce it for 2 strikes. He said, that's where we're going to get somewhere. And I learned how to do that on top of learning how to be aggressive in the strike zone and ended up having a really good season. And then towards the end of the season, he taught me a slider. He's like, obviously your curveball is going to be your best pitch, but I want you to have a slider as well. I think it's going to be easy for you to throw something that's moving in the strike zone more often than your curveball. I said, dude, I'm all for it. Let's go. So he taught me at the end of the season, worked on an off season, like pumped up, ready to go. And then next chapter, get traded away from him and stuff. So overall, the Mariners was a really good experience for me. Like, especially like meeting a bunch of guys that I still talk to this day, especially Lopes and stuff. Like, he's one of my best friends. We chat all the time and everything. And then maybe not the best on the field, but definitely learned a lot about myself as a person.
That's awesome. And I think something I noticed about the trade, at least I don't know how if anyone else has really noticed, but I noticed, one of the players to be named later was Rob Whalen, who was in your high school class.
Yes. So
Did you ever
Waylon,
was that ever
yeah,
something that you noticed?
yeah, I did because Waylon went to a high school like 20 minutes down the road from me. We're in the same district and everything, so we played each other a lot. And me and Rob are still good friends to this day and stuff. Talk every once in a while. But it was he at this time he had been in the big leagues for a little bit with the Braves. I think he had made his debut that year, and I remember the trade going down, but like never knew there was a player to be named later that the Mariners had in stock. So like it was Waylon and Max Posey for Alex Jackson, which is a catcher with the Braves now, and a player to be named later. Never knew those players to be named later. And I think it was like early December, I was driving home from the gym and one of the Mariners front office guys calls me. I'm like, that's weird. I answer it. He's like, hey man, what's going on? I said, I'm just driving home from the gym, about to go throw. What about you? He's like, not much, man. Well, I got some news that's going to turn your world upside down. I'm like, well, that's not good. And he's like, we had a trade earlier in the year and you're a player to be named later. So we're trading you over to the Braves. And I'm like,
Dang.
sick. Like for me, it was like, once I like got off the excitement of like and this stuff, like because getting traded, it's like somebody wants you. Like for
Yeah.
some reason, the Braves wanted me, which is like okay, they care enough about me to want them to come to their organization. But it was also like a trying to get a fresh start too, because I knew I was trying to figure some stuff out, and I felt like this fresh start with an organization could be that ticket. And the Braves spring trained at that time in Orlando, which is like 45 minutes from my house. So like,
Okay.
I didn't live at home or anything, but I could just I could go home if I wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm still in Florida, which is awesome and everything. So that whole experience was kind of crazy, but we were super ecstatic about what the future might hold with us with the Braves.
I think it's great that you pointed out, the trade was like, hey, like this team wants me and it's a great opportunity for a new start. Cause I mean, you hear typically at first, guys like, oh man, like why don't, for you, like why doesn't the Mariners want me anymore? And then once they get over that, then kind of realizing, hey, it means Atlanta wants me. But for you, it just kind of seems like it was like, hey, like this is a really good opportunity.
Yeah, for sure. And that point, like I didn't know how like the Braves they were on their rise up at that point. So in my mind, I was like, all right, here's a fresh
Mm-hmm.
start. Let's kick things into gear and get ourselves a good opportunity to maybe have a chance. But getting there, it was kind of like rolling the spring training, and there's some dudes in the clubhouse, like top pitching prospects in all of baseball. I mean, I'm just like, all right, I have my work cut out for me. So, but even that in situations like, here's a challenge to see what we can do with it. So it was cool, man. Cool experience getting traded and all that stuff.
So what was it like, now going back to, or I guess not going back to, but going to spring training, it's what, like your, fifth year spring training or whatever. And
Yeah.
now it's, no one on the team, or at least like as in the sense of like recently you're not like close with any of them.
Right. It was weird at first. I mean, I was definitely nervous, no doubt. I think I was just turned 23. My wife and I had just had our first baby. He was like a month old, and we pack up. We have a host family in Orlando that takes us in for the month. Yeah, it was awkward at first, man. It took me a couple days to get used to it. But I think it's just that baseball world. Like I met some guys, like started chatting with them, which led to more conversation with other guys. And at the end of it, man, I have like 3 or 4 guys from the Braves organization that are like my really, really good friends that, I mean, I'll probably be friends with them for the rest of my life. And I think that's just a token to the Braves, because the Braves were really consistent on who they drafted and what could they bring to the organization off the field. So like they just wouldn't draft anybody. And like I've heard that from multiple people. Like they really got into your background. They wanted to know what kind of person you were and everything. And that was a testament to how they are as an organization as well. So I had nothing but good things to say about them through the whole time I was there.
That's awesome. So what were the next couple years like? You go from Florida and Mississippi. What were those years like?
Florida, my first season there was really good. I think just being in Florida gave me a sense of comfortability. I think so. Like I spent my first half of the season there was in the high with the Kissimmee Fire Frogs or Florida Fire Frogs, my bad, and threw really well. I think I had like a 2.3 ERA. I got selected to the All-Star team, and then last game before the All-Star break, they called me in the office, like, "Hey man, you're throwing really well. There's an opening in Double-A, and they want you to take the spot." I'm like, awesome, let's do it. Get my next chance at Double-A. And then that season was just the half of the season then was just kind of like, it's like I was riding like a roller coaster. I was like, had good start, bad start, good start, bad start. And it's just like, and it ended up being like, I think I was like 6-2 in high, and then I'm going up like 0-10 in Double-A or something like that. Not like necessarily, I mean, I definitely have my moments of pitching bad, but like I lost a lot of like 4-2 ball games and stuff like that. I think I had like a 4.2 ERA, which isn't terrible, but isn't good at the same time. So, I was kind of like set and determined to make 18 a really good season because that was going to be my free agency year. So whether the Braves wanted to pick me up or not, I needed to pitch for the other 29 teams and show them what I could do. So, I mean, I lived in Tampa that off season. I worked out a facility. I got stronger. I mean, the ball felt good coming out of my hands. And then pretty good spring training. I threw the ball pretty well. Got sent back to Double-A. At this point, they wanted me to try out the bullpen instead of being a starter, which is something I'd never done. I was like, whatever, I'm all for it. Let's try what happens. And then opening day, which is like, I think it was April 5th, I ended up having to make a spot start in 2 days. So I was in the stands charting because one of our starters got hurt. And I had one of my teammates come tap me on the shoulder. He's like, "Hey man, they need you in the clubhouse." I was like, "It's weird, whatever, I'll go in there." And my wife met me before I went in the clubhouse, and she's like, kind of like had this panic look on her face. And I'm like, "What's wrong?" I was like looking at her son, making sure he was okay. She's like, "I just need you to pray real fast. We're going to go in here and talk for a second." I said, "All right." So I said a little prayer in my head and stuff. And she came in and sat me down in our players lounge room. And what happened, I think like a couple hours earlier, my dad had been trying to call Gina, my wife, and she wasn't answering. And there ended to be another player. She finally answered the phone when one of my cousins called her and was like, "What's going on?" She's like, "Hey, something happened with Tyler's mom." And she's like, "Well, what's happened? What happened?" Like, she's like, "I don't know, but she's gone." Like, so bunch of crap what happened. And then I don't know exactly what happened at that point, but she's like, "Hey, like your mom, like she's gone." Like, and I was like, at that point, I mean, I don't even know what happened. I just remember like walking out of the players lounge, like tears rolling down my face, just like crying, fall to my knees and stuff, just like not really knowing what to think. And I mean, when it came to the point, I kind of finally got to sit down and be like, at the end of the season, like, man, like what happened? But at that point, I'm like still crying and stuff. I got a couple of good buddies coming up that came up through the clubhouse, like coming up, giving me hugs and talking to me and stuff. And then player personnel from the Braves are there watching and stuff. They come up there like, "And whatever you need, take it. This is horrible. Like all the time you need, we got you on a flight tomorrow morning back home to take care of stuff." So I went home for like a week, I think, and helped my mom and not my mom, my dad, my brother, and my sister do some funeral stuff. Had the funeral and got back like a week later. And my head wasn't in baseball, man. Like as much as I thought it was, like I was still grieving in a different way than most people would. Like in my heart, I felt like I was okay, but I knew I really wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I really let it affect me on the field. Like I threw like one inning and it was okay. And then I had to come into a game, and in the bullpen, I can't find the strike zone at all. Like I'm spiking curveballs, I'm throwing fastballs, I'm up above our catcher, I'm cutting fastballs. I'm like, geez. And then I go into the game. I think it's like I don't know who, I think there's like a guy on second or something, and run up to the mound. And then I was like, as soon as like the coach hands me the ball, the lights go out in the field. And I'm like, oh, exactly what I need. And it was a turning point for sure. It was like in my head, like I sat on the bench the whole time, just like thinking terrible, negative thoughts. Like, I got to find a strike zone. I need to throw strikes here and stuff. And I mean, I come back out in the field and same thing. I'm throwing fastballs to the backstop. I'm yanking fastballs. I'm spiking curveballs. And it comes to the point where like the third base coach like looks at me. He's like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, is something wrong with my arm and stuff?" Like trainers look at me like, "Oh, I'm good. I'm good. I'm good." And like, I end up walking like 3 guys. Like the only pitch I can throw around the zone is my slider. So like, I think I threw like 12 in a row to get out of the inning.
Wow.
Like Mirac somehow got out of the inning, like gave up a couple of runs and stuff. And like, he takes me out of the game. And then I just like, I grab my glove and I walk through the tunnel up to the clubhouse and just like put my stuff in my locker and go into our side of the clubhouse that had a batting cage. And I just sit in there and just start like sobbing, man. Like, this is like the one thing that I've been good at my whole life. And like, I feel like I don't even know what's going on. I feel like I've never thrown a baseball in my life. And I finally calmed down, and our pitching coordinators there, pitching coach, head coach, they all call me into the office, and I'm good at this point. And like, they just like, I sit down, they're all looking at me and they're like, "Hey man, are you okay?" And I just kind of start thinking, and the same thing, I just like break down. Like, I don't know, like saying like, I don't know what's going on. Like I was yipped up like bad, and crying in front of these dudes like I shouldn't be crying in front of them. I'm kicking myself in the butt for it. And just the way the Braves were through the whole process started like right here. Like, we know like some terrible stuff has happened to you over the last like month, man. Like stuff like half of us can't even talk about. We're going to give you time to work through this. So like, they put me on the Phantom DL so I could stay there like with all my friends and stuff, like, and work through this, which was like a huge testament that that's who they are. Because they could have easily said like, "We don't want to deal with this bull crap.
Yeah.
We're going to release you. Get out of here." But they took the time and gave me that opportunity to figure some stuff out. And it took like 2 months, man. Like, I finally like got the confidence back to where I could throw the ball over the plate and started coming out of the bullpen again. I had a couple decent outings, and like last 2 weeks of the season, like I go down with bicep tendonitis. I can't even pick up my arm, like over my shoulder. And I'm like, this is great. Like, awesome. Like, really good 18 season for me heading into free agency. Like, I walked more guys and I struck out and stuff. It was bad, man. Really, really bad. So that's kind of where my minor league season ended, going into that off season. But we'll get into if you ask some question about any ball, I can tell you how that experience went. But overall with the Braves and stuff, man, just like A+ organization that really took care of me in a time that I really needed some help.
I want to say I've heard before, just different places here and there, like the Braves are great. Like, it is a business, but also like there is personal aspects to it.
Oh yeah, 100%. I think that's kind of chiming back in. Like, they care who they're getting into their organization, because they were a group of guys that cared a lot. Not being there in 3 years, I mean, some stuff has changed with management and higher ups, so it might be different now. But like, my time there, like, was cherished. Like, I have nothing but good things to say about most of those guys.
So now you're a free agent. I'm guessing like your bicep tendonitis kind of cleared up quickly after a little bit.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking I just needed some rest. I think I was just like, I had never thrown the bullpen before, so like I was throwing every day. I was having to get hot in like 2 minutes or less. I think my arm just didn't know how to take it. So like a month off in off season, I was perfectly fine.
So talk us a little bit through kind of like your, I guess, free agency experience.
Yeah. So, I mean, as bad as 18 was, like, I was still hopeful, because just from my previous stats as a minor league player, like, I'm a guy who I'm pretty durable for the most part. Like, I'd only missed like 2 months in like 7 seasons combined.
Mm-hmm.
I had a really high strikeout rate. I mean, if there was one thing I was good at, it was striking guys out. So I was still hopeful. I mean, my agent had talked with the Braves and they were still interested in signing me back and stuff. So I was like, this could actually work. So the way free agency is, like 5 days after the World Series is over, that's when your free agency starts. So I was still hopeful they were going to sign me back. And it was just kind of like nothing was happening for a little bit. Still nothing happening. Then we get into like December. I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. The agent's sending out some emails and stuff. Get into January, nothing's happening. And I'm like, this isn't, don't happen. I was like, please don't let this happen. So going back to December, my wife and I attended a conference, which is called the Increase Conference. It's basically a big gathering place for professional baseball players to kind of express their faith and stuff in Jesus and everything. It's just like a big Christian conference, honestly. And it's just baseball players, a bunch of big league players there. There's a bunch of minor league players there, and they just all get together for like 4 days. We worship together. We listen to some speakers and everything, and end up meeting Michael Schlatt, which at that time was the manager for the Fargo-Moorhead RedHawks. And I had seen him I've been following him on Twitter for like 6 years because he posts some pretty good stuff about pitching and the mental side of everything. And talking to him for a while about indie ball and stuff. He's like, I'll be in touch with you, man. We'll see if we can do something, see what happens. So come about January, he gets in touch with me. He's like, hey, we want you to come play. Like, this isn't going to affect if like a team wants to pick you up or anything. This is just kind of like a backup plan for you. So my wife and I talked about it for a little while, and we're like, we definitely want to keep on playing. This is our backup plan. Let's do it. So ended up signing with them, but still hopeful something was going to happen affiliated ball wise. And never did. I mean, went through March, spring training stuff was going, nothing. April, same thing. And then I think I left on May 1st of 2019, and I drove up to North Dakota by myself just so I had a car there. My wife and my son would come in after me. They had some stuff to do back home for like a month, and they would fly up. So I drove up the car, and at this point, like, I didn't want to leave, man. Like, I got into a spot where like I was really comfortable at home and stuff. And I felt like I had found like my groove. Like, I was throwing a bunch of bullpens and stuff all around the strike zone. Curveball is really good. Sliders developing well. But in my head, I'm like, man, I'm too good for indie ball. Like, I know this. Like, I don't want to go play indie ball. Like, somebody's got to give me this chance. And I think I got around at like Atlanta, and I'm like this close to just turning around. Like,
Damn.
I don't want nothing to do with indie ball, because like my perspective on indie ball was like, it's kind of like a place for guys who can't cut it in MILB or stuff like that. Just a kind of place they go and die. Like, that's where the careers die.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want that, because I want to play. Like, I still want to play and stuff like that. And I just remember like praying, like, man, God, if you want me to turn around, like, yank this wheel out of my hand, get me back on 75 South. I'm heading home. And you just kind of had like this kind of peace come over me. Like, it's all going to work out, man. Just trust it. So made the drive up there, got there late March 2nd. And it was by far the best decision I ever made to keep on driving. So
that's awesome.
It was, though, that season in general was just like kind of harping back on what we talked about earlier, is it was so much fun, man. Like, I had a blast coming to the field every day, which is something I hated doing for like 2 years before that. 18, I dreaded coming to the field every day, because I didn't like, I would show up and like, I don't know what my teammates are thinking about me. I'm just sitting here collecting space, like sitting on the bench, trying to figure out if I can throw a fastball that I've done my whole life straight. And I get into this clubhouse where there's no pressure for me to do good. There's guys that are in my same situation, whether it's pitching wise or hitting, where we just come together as a team, and guys figure out what they need to do. And like, I was a huge part of that. Like, I figured out what my body does well, like pitching wise. and I figured out how to have fun again, which was the biggest thing. Like, I loved coming to the field every day. I like wake up and like I would show up to the field like an hour and a half, 2 hours early some days just so I could go to the field. Like, that's how much I love doing it. And that's just a big testament to like not only what indie ball can do for your career, but huge like shout out to my coaches and stuff that just gave me that opportunity. Just like we're not expecting like for you to go out there and do like perfect games every time, man. We just want you to go out there and have fun. Like, we've seen what you did in the minor leagues. Like, we know you had an issue walking some guys. Like, you have some command issues. Like, I just want you to throw the ball over the plate and see what happens. See if they can beat you. Let them beat you. And I finally got to the point where, like, here, hit it. If you can hit it, hit it. And I started pitching well. Like, I wasn't trying to strike at everybody, but at the same time, me not trying to strike out people, I was getting those strikeouts. And then we were winning games. Like, I was developing these relationships. And that's why that was a huge reason I just kept on playing baseball, honestly, was because of that season. I met some amazing guys that I will be friends with for the rest of my life. I mean, coaching staff, I have two of the same coaches that are still there now. And it's just like a testament to indie ball. And like, it's not what people think it is that have never been there. It's like this place, like guys come together and learn themselves and learn about themselves. And I mean, I love it. Of course, I'd want to be an affiliated ball still, but like, I'm not, if it doesn't work out that way, that's fine. I'm going to go get better in indie ball. I'm going to go have fun. And if somebody gives me a chance, let's do it.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, so you're the third person on this podcast that's been on indie ball before. And it's like I said before that we were talking, is like every guy has been like, you know, yes, it's different than affiliated ball. I mean, there's different expectations. In indie ball, you're washing your own jersey, you know, some guys travel themselves to the games, but I mean, like everyone has said, like, it is so much better than what they thought at first. And like,
100%.
Maybe it's, you know, I feel like it has an extra emphasis on the term, like the minor league grind. It's like, there should be like the indie ball grind, but like, it's one of those, like, now looking back, like people like love it more than they think they would.
Oh, 100%. I'm that guy. Like I said, I didn't want to go. Yeah. Now it's like, that was like the best season of my life all the way around. And like you said, like, it's definitely different. It's 100% different. Like, there's not like player developmental guys, like higher ups always looking at you. Yeah, there's scouts at the games. That's at every game almost. But it's just the fact that like all these guys they're playing indie ball because they just love baseball for the most part. Like, you don't play indie ball just because you want to play baseball for the most part. It's a grind. Like, travel sucks. The meals and stuff aren't the best. Hotels are terrible for the most part. Like, it all around, it's like, it's not a great like living experience, but it's just like what you get on the field and what you can figure out as a person and as an individual and as a human is what really took that to the next level for me, and what I cherish about that experience.
If you can give us, you know, I guess one just like crazy independent league story, road trip, you know, game experience, what was one of the highlights?
Not like I don't really get myself into those crazy situations. Like, I'm sure some of the guys I played with have, but on the field stuff, I think it was back in 2019. Like, we didn't win the first half of the season. So basically the playoffs worked is like, it's first half winner, second half winner. That's your playoff spots. So like, we're going to the second half trying to make a playoff spot. And the month of August was just like this unbelievable run that we made. Like, honestly, like, you could ask anybody from the team and they'd be like, yeah, I don't know what happened. Something was going on. I mean, I think in 2 weeks we won like 5 games where we were down 5 runs with like 6 outs left to go. And like, I mean, one game we were down 5-0. We ended up winning 6-5 in the 9th inning. Another one, we were at one point down like 9-3, ended up coming back and winning like 12-9.
Dang.
And it was just like, it was something different going on, man. Like, it was that same thing. Like, yeah, we want to make a playoff spot, but like, we're not going to stress about it either.
Yeah.
Like, the guys were just so comfortable in the field. They were just letting things happen. And we were super tight knit group of guys, and we knew what we could do in the team as a team. We went on this like unbelievable run where like I think we won like 19 out of 23 games or something like that in
Damn.
August to take that first spot and then to clinch the second half of the season and get into that playoff spot. So it was nothing I've ever been a part of. Like is like it came down to like towards the end of the season and like we'd get in those situations, especially like the fourth or fifth time it happened. We just like look in the dugout like we're gonna win this game. Like I don't know how it's gonna happen. We're gonna win this game. So it was crazy. That's like the best on-field experience I've had for sure.
I think part of what you were saying is, like them not being like stressed and like over on top of like, we have to win this, we have to make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I mean, I know for me, like, 3-0 count and I'm like, oh, I have to throw this for a strike. It's almost guaranteed not to be a strike because I need it to be.
Right.
Instead of just like trusting like, man, a fastball in the zone, like that's, I mean, not the simplest thing to do, but like that should be the simplest thing to do. Just focus on it and do it instead of thinking like, oh, I have to do this.
Yeah, I think it's a mindset thing with that because I used to be the same way. Like I'd get the 2 on a batter and like I'm putting myself in a situation to walk him again. Don't walk him. Don't walk him. Don't walk him.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being like, oh, 2-0, flush it, next pitch. 2-1, flush it, next pitch. 3-1, next pitch. Like that's where like I figured out a mindset of how I need to pitch and what works for me. So like you're saying in that situation, like 3-0, like I'm thinking, all I'm thinking is see the target, throw it to the glove.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I walk him, whatever, I have another chance to get the next guy out. Let's get a ground ball and get a double play. So it's a huge mindset thing, like, which is what indie ball taught me. Because with the minor leagues, it was that pressure of like, you got to do good, you got to do good, you got to do good. Where like the minor leagues are supposed to be kind of developmental. That's all minor league is. Like they want you to develop into a big leaguer. But I did my most developing as an indie ball player where like I'm not trying to move up anywhere. I have nowhere to move up unless the team wants to call me in, which is like kind of weird in a sense, but like it was just that freedom to be like, all right, let's try to figure some stuff out here. Like I got nothing to lose. Like literally, I have nothing to lose. So that's how this. Yeah, go ahead.
This is I guess your third season with Fargo coming up. Was there anything this offseason that you're like, hey, like I really want to like work on this, or was it just kind of like, let's get ready for the year?
I think it was more get ready for the year. So at the end of 19, I figured out a lot of stuff mechanically wise that worked for me. And I took that into the offseason, like, all right, I know my mechanics now. Let's figure out what I need to do with each pitch, which is what I took into the 2020 season. So I know exactly what my body needs to do on the mound to be consistent going down the road or going down the slope. So for like now, I kind of figure like I got a lot of stuff figured out. So it's me like getting into the spot where like, all right, let's learn how to tunnel some of my pitches. So like right now I'm working on like how to tunnel like my fastball off my changeup, my fastball off my slider. Working on like really trying to get like late break on my curveball and stuff just to take it to a next step, because you can always get better and there's always levels to each thing you're doing. So now it's just like, all right, I know what my body needs to do. If I make a bad pitch, I know the adjustment I need to make. So now it's like, let's get this to the next step and like, what can I really do to put myself over the edge? So that's kind of what this next 2 months is going to bring, and then I'll hopefully take that to the season.
When does do y'all know when your season starts?
I think the first game's like the 18th of May or so. I think I'll get there like May 2nd or 3rd. So we have like a 2 weeks like spring training, just kind of like getting tuned to everything. But it's kind of like, hey, let's show up and you need to be ready to throw 5 innings in 2 weeks. So, which is fine. Like that's what I've done the last 2 years. Like I've slowly like built myself up to be able to throw those innings when I show up. So it's nothing new with that.
And you're back to starting now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think I threw 1 inning out of the bullpen in the playoffs a couple years ago for Fargo. That's about it. Everything else has been starting.
So I guess since this last, 2020 and, even just this off season, you've kind of found, you mentioned it earlier with your class, but you kind of found a new job and hobby to do. Mm-hmm. You mind telling us, a little bit about that and then how that came, what's going on now?
Yeah. So, there's an NAI school down the road from the house. It's called Weber International. And the head coach there used to be one of my coaches in high school. And then on top of that, his assistant is my cousin. He played at Weber, got a grad assistant job, and was really good at what he did. So he hired him on as his assistant. He does all the recruiting stuff. And their pitching coach is going to leave. And they said, and my cousin called me, he's like, hey, like, if it comes down to this, was like, would you want to do it? Like, at first it sounded like I was just going to be like there, like help out. I get paid a little bit. I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like I can be at the field all day. I can help some pitchers out. And then on top of that, get my work in. Let's do it for sure. So it got to that point, and then I was gone all summer, and they kind of got me on the hiring process of everything. And then I show up after my season, and I sit down with the head coach, and not really expecting, like, I thought I was just going to be like kind of like assistant to somebody. And he's like, I was like, so like face to face, I'm like, so who's going to be the head guy? Like, who am I going to be working under? He's like, no, you're the pitching coach, dude. Like, this is your job. I said, oh, I wasn't expecting that. But like another thing, man, it's just been like a super rewarding experience. Like I've found a love for coaching. I think it helps. Like I've done lessons and stuff with younger kids, but it's a different thing when you're helping these college kids out that are out of college for a reason. They care about baseball, and like they buy into what you're saying. They listen to your experiences and stuff, and they take that into their experience as a college player. It's like a super rewarding to see guys start working and then actually have things work for them too. So we've been doing that. I mean, I've been doing that all fall. We're in the middle of our season right now. Just got ranked inside the top 25 in NAIA baseball in the nation, which is really cool. I think we're 17-10. We went on like an 8-game win streak. We won like 12 out of 14. We're second in the league in pitching with innings, opponent ERA and stuff like that. So like, that's huge. Like I can't like put all that on me for sure, but like, I feel like the experience I bring to the table has helped those guys out for sure. And then
Definitely.
The guy that works with me, he's a pitching coach with the Phillies, and he's their high A pitching coach, but he's not in season right now. So he's helping me out, and he's super knowledgeable about stuff. So like, and he gets his point across way better than I do because he's been doing it for a couple of years. So like us like meshing together kind of brings like this like stuff that I say and stuff that he say that we can like bounce off each other and then give it to the kid the best that we can to let him think like, okay, something I might say may not work for him, but if Matt can say it a different way, he might click in his head better kind of thing. And no matter if it's like mechanical wise, if it's mentality wise, if it's just like little stuff, like these kids have bought in. And you've seen a lot of these dudes just take like a giant, like 180 from where they were and are really good pitchers now, which has been itself just fun to watch. Like not even like winning and stuff like that. Just like watching these kids develop is like super cool experience. And like I said, I found a love for coaching that whenever I decide to stop playing baseball, which isn't going to be anytime soon, I'll probably get into coaching for sure.
And that's awesome. I mean, like you were saying, like it might not be anytime soon that you stop and start actually like, career coaching, but I mean, you have already got like an awesome resume, being a pro player, all this and that. But then even while you're playing, you still have that little bit of a resume of I was a college coach already. And you have your stats to show like you're second in the conference pitching and all that. I mean, it's not just I showed up and said throw it harder.
Oh no, for sure. And that, like I said, I didn't expect to get thrown into this situation, but like I'm super thankful for it too, because like you said, at the worst, it's a resume builder for one day when like if I want to make coaching a full-time thing, like year round, and like I'll have some stuff to back it up with, which I'm not ready to do that yet. I still want to play, and it works out to where like our college season will end and I'll jump right into indie ball season. And I mean, they took the risk of like something happened where I would maybe get signed in this past fall. They're like, I get it. Like our head coach, he's like, I understand. Like this is going to be your priority, and we're okay with that. We just want you to be around these guys and just like dig into them and like give them what you got. And if you end up getting signed and have to leave in the middle of the season, we'll make it work. It's not a big deal. So I'm like, all right, let's do it. So tentatively that's the plan, and just kind of like keep doing that. And then hopefully, like, obviously I want to get picked up still. And I mean, still help out when I can and stuff. But it's just like, it's been a fun experience being where I'm at in this whole crazy baseball world.
Yeah. So to end off, I mean, I know at my JUCO I'm at now, my old one, even in high school, like the pitching coach throws BP a lot. So is it,
Yep.
you know, for you, is it like almost like live when you pitch? I mean, like, are you actually, you know, picking up intensity, or is it just, you know, I'll tone it down for them?
Well, I haven't even thrown BP one time. So like I went to the fall, like I wasn't going to throw because I personally wasn't throwing it. Like I take like
Yeah.
those 2 maybe 3 months off. But we have like 2 or 3 guys that throw BP now, so it hasn't really been a reason for me to
Mm.
throw. So which I've been fine with. But over the last like 3 weeks, I have thrown live to our hitters and stuff. So I'll jump on the mound and like maybe once a week we'll have some guys that didn't get to throw on the weekend. We'll have them throw like a simulated inning, and I'll just throw at the end, which has been cool for those guys to watch. It's been good for the hitters to be able to see something like that. And it's been good for me just to see live hitters. And then like, it's a perfect chance for me to get on the mound and like work on what I need to work on and solely focus on that, whether it's tunneling my slider off my fastball or working on throwing my curveball for a strike, then working on throwing it for a 2-strike, stuff like that, or maybe working on quick steps, anything like that. Just really honing on what I need to work on, but everybody else is getting something out of it too, which is really cool
Yeah.
and rewarding.
That's awesome. Well, good luck this season, and thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it.